Hi, everyone. This is Jackie Cooper with Crypto Mom 2 Talk Show and the Blockchain Legal Institute Talk Show. And today is definitely an exciting one because this is a member Byte talk show. So we are on our member Bytes featuring new members as well as those that might have an update. And so definitely be sure to like and subscribe both to the YouTube side as well as the audio side, because there are many wonderful guests that are coming into the feed, and we want to make sure that you always are knowing what's going on. The other thing that I definitely want to remind everyone is BLI has a newsletter called BLI Notes, and you can subscribe to that by going to our website, bli.tools. And that way you'll also see where we've been at conferences like Consensus, which we just came back and met a lot of wonderful people, as well as what's coming up, because I'll be speaking at eToronto, I'll be at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, a lot of wonderful places that we're on the move. And the other reason why you want to subscribe to the member notes, the BLI notes, is because our members are going to be sharing what they're doing as well. And so we have individuals from the artificial intelligence community to the DeFi community, Bitcoin, Ethereum, blockchain use cases, compliance, you name it. And it's all about education and providing the resources that you need. Today, I have Carrie on, and she also is a phenomenal resource for those of you that are in the legacy side or in the blockchain side. In terms of how you structure your company, it's all about the teams that you create and, the vision that you have, and then how do you carry it out? So, Carrie, welcome. How are you doing today?
Great, thanks. Happy to be here, Jackie. Hi, everybody. Happy to meet you and looking forward to getting to know you.
Yeah, so for everyone who's listening, both on the audio side as well as on the visual side, I will have in the blog below ways that you can contact Carrie. So that way, after our conversation, you'll be able to reach out to her, through LinkedIn and any other resources that we decide to provide to you. So definitely, and she's also going to be, if you haven't signed up for some of the Eventbrite that Blockchain Legal Institute does with our virtual events or meetup, definitely sign up so you can be part of our virtual as well as in-person community, because Carrie's going to be speaking, on a variety of places. So that way you can also meet her and ask questions. So Carrie, why don't you go ahead and share a little bit more about your story, and how you got started? Because I know, like myself, you're a career switcher. You've been doing a lot of things, and your passion is really what's driving you now. So, why don't you share a little bit of how you came to be where you are right now?
Yeah, okay. So I've been serving clients for over 25 years. I started out as a tax consultant at Arthur Andersen. So anybody who's been around for a while knows how that story ended. But it was a really, pivotal time in my career. I was early in my career. And at that point, I decided to go to Deloitte, where I got another 14 years of client service experience. I was a partner there for 7 of those years, and got to do all kinds of interesting things, like work in India for a couple of years. And and that was a really, I'd say, character building and, gosh, such a learning part of my career, because I worked with so many clients and I also worked within the business of the firm. But as I progressed, I got less and less satisfied with just tax being what I focused on. I was really involved in leading practices. I had various roles, and I wanted to do something else. I really thought that I wanted to be a coach. And so I left the firm, started my own coaching business, and was successful doing that. But I didn't love owning a coaching business. It is a totally different deal than working with businesses. And I just didn't feel right. It just was not that passion thing that I knew that was out there somewhere, that I had not found yet. So I slowly migrated my coaching business and wound it down. And as I did that, I thought about what are the things I don't know a lot about that I want to know more about. And the financial markets came up, and I I knew that I wanted to learn about them. And at first it was, well, maybe I want to trade and invest. And of course, making money in the markets is great, but there was like this deeper thing. And the deeper thing was understanding how it works. And as I started to listen to different people, I just didn't find anybody that resonated with that deep desire to understand something else, that's at work and at play here, that is motivating people every day to go to the market and express their views. And I finally found Imre Gams, who ended up becoming my partner in the business we'll be talking about. He talked about the markets in a totally different way. And it was a way that was about people, and it was about behavior, and it was about what's driving us to do the things we do. And so he and I started our relationship by talking about the markets and me learning about the markets from him. But we quickly started to understand both of our backgrounds and thought, well, this data, this methodology, this information about the markets is being used to trade and invest, but this is about human behavior. This is about what drives people to do the things that they do. And wouldn't this be important to a business? Wouldn't this be important to somebody who's leading an organization that has results that they're trying to deliver, that's trying to create something in our world, to understand what is the underlying driver of what they do that's driving their results, and how to work with that, and how to be with that, and to structure strategically around that, to also understand even micro decisions people make every day. And we came up with this idea, and it was really this like amazing synchronicity. A friend of mine who I have worked with, in lots of different capacities, called me and said, just out of the blue, and said, "Oh, I have this new company." I said, "Great, tell me about it." And he said, it's really different. It's this company in the crypto space, and we get paid in cryptocurrency. And he said, this is really different. And he and I have been around for a while, and he's like, this, managing this risk and just getting my head around this balance sheet that moves all over all the time is it's a whole new level of complexity. And I said, well, it's interesting. I think we could, number one, I think we can help you with that currency risk and just understanding the market and understanding how to navigate that. But would you also be interested in us experimenting a little bit? And he was game. He said, sure, come on in and let's work on, this one task at hand, which is managing this risk. But then let's see if you can validate some of these ideas you have about how your methodology can be applied to businesses. And so we've been working with the client for, gosh, a year and a half now, which has been phenomenal, because we've been able to be in this world as the market has been way down, and then as the market has risen back up. And what we found is in just such an amazing data source for businesses to understand the drivers of decision making, to understand how their decisions are change, and how to understand on a daily basis to work with that. I'm like, I call them the micro decisions, the standard operating procedures, those tactical things that really drive results in a business, but also the big strategic decisions. When's a good time to think about another line of business? When's a good time to enter a new market? When's a good time to add a new service offering? And how may the market may the market come to that? How may the market receive that? How could you change your communication for the very same service offering and have the market think it is amazing, or have the market go completely flat on it and not be interested at all? And working with this and taking our time to get, and for me, I've been working with clients for over 25 years now. I view service as a craft, and those of you who are equally as passionate about solving problems and serving clients will understand this. I won't bring something to a client that I don't believe in. And I had to validate, this could be like some neat little, some fanciful idea I have. I had to validate that. And what is just so thrilling right now is that I know I have an untapped insight to bring to clients that can help them drive the results that they're looking for, solve the problems that they're having problems solving, plan for the future, play offense in any kind of a market. And that, you can see, Jackie, that like just charges me up.
Well, I think that what you're saying, though, it definitely applies in the crypto blockchain space and also applies in other markets. I know that we were looking at an information sheet that you had created. Why don't you pull it up? Because
Sure.
a lot of what you're sharing, especially for those that are in this blockchain crypto community, they need to have this type of insight because the markets go up and down. And what you've been doing with this one client actually applies across the board. There you go. So first of all, share the name of your company because you haven't done that yet. So go ahead and introduce it.
Yes.
Explain
Yes.
how you decided on the name.
Yeah. So that is a great question. So the name of the company is SentiTrend. And this is about the trend of the sentiment. It is about understanding, because the whole premise of what we do is that emotion drives behavior and behavior drives results. And if you can go back to the root, the emotion, the sentiment, that deep undercurrent, that thing, that vibe that we can all feel, if you can go back to the root of that, and you can understand how it patterns and it herds, and you can understand how predictable it really is, and how you can see how it migrates, and where the probability is that it's going to be in the future, you can understand how behavior will be driven today and the behavior that you're most probably to expect 3 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. So that's the story behind the name.
So I see a chart which is really it kind of goes, well, full circle, no pun intended.
Right.
For those that are on the audio side, it is a circle. Where would you start? I mean, you have results change, you adapt, people come together, mood prevails. I mean, there's constant evolution, but where do you, when you have a client, where do you start? What do you do first?
Yeah. So our first step with any client is really understanding their business and understanding what they're trying to solve for and the opportunities they're trying to create. So what results do they have that they don't like? And what results do they desire to have? And that helps inform us as to where to look for, our methodology is an analytical methodology that we start off with to look for the patterns of these emotions. And so this chart depicts what most businesses do. So most businesses are adapting after this emotion has started to prevail. So what we see and you see here, so results change. So businesses, you're going to get results. You adapt, and you're wondering, was I fast enough? Or, am I leading the market, or is the market leading me? Am I trailing? Are my competitors ahead of me? And what happens is people come together, and that mood, that underlying mood, is already shifting. It's already creating a new driver. And in a business, if you're waiting for the results to start to show you that there's been a shift, you're likely way behind and not able to strategically plan. And this is where businesses find themselves constantly in reaction mode. So this chart depicts the typical process. We say we're going to talk about how people are coming together before they come together, because what we're going to talk about is what's going on right now in the areas that are driving these results that the business wants, and what that pattern is, and what we can expect in the future. So you are able to see before that changes what that underlying emotion is going to evolve into, and then what the behavior will evolve into, and what the results will evolve into. So you can strategically plan and be ahead of that. Well, everybody else is waiting for their results to change, and everybody else is saying, oh gosh, this is shocking. I didn't expect this. I've got to adapt immediately. You're saying, I knew that was going to happen. We already have a strategic plan in place, and we're already implementing it.
Well, it sort of goes back to your name. It's the trend, because things cycle, and
Yes.
and you do have to have flexibility for the cycle. I mean, even within the Blockchain Legal Institute, when we first created it last year, and again, I don't know when everyone who's listening will be listening, because this will be on our feed forever. But last year was 2023, so we're 1 year old. The pages in the blockchain, which is Legal Institute, which is a centralized library, were mostly closed. We had it be member only, private. This year we decided that it would be open source, even though some of the pages are still closed because of development. Well, not so much our developing, but because of the evolution of the community. But you have to look at, okay, like you said, what was the initial purpose? Did the initial purpose solve that you wanted? And then where do you see the community going, and what are the needs of the community, so you can adapt to make your business grow to have it serve the population that you want. So now you're working in so many different areas. How do you get the background knowledge? I mean, I see you were talking about R&D and other business frameworks and other things in your chart. How do you gather that information so you can help guide the team that you're working with?
Yeah, so our framework goes back to large scale analytics. And so what we're going to go back to is one of the best sources of data is a market chart.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, so most people, when you pull up a market chart, you're thinking, okay, what's the price? What's the token price? What's the stock price? What's the index price? Whatever it is, what's the currency price? When we look at a chart, we're looking at it and we're saying, these are people coming together expressing their views. And so depending on what type of a business we're looking at, we're going to go to charts that are going to reflect the types of people, either the customers, the people within the business, what we're trying to solve for. Where are people going to express their views? And that will be our starting point. And that is really important because it narrows down, we all have so much data,
Mm-hmm.
data everywhere we look. I mean, we could be sweeping the internet every day and accumulating so much data, it would make our heads spin. So this narrows down where we go first. And from there are really three different ways that we can look at the data. Number one is if a business has data that they're concerned about. So a great example of that would be, we have a specific result that is not behaving like it did before. I have a business could say, I've got a big problem. We had this idea of how our revenue function cycled, and it's not cycling like that anymore. Even though some of our other metrics are similar, that's not cycling like it used to. This is very strange. And so we would take that data and we would overlay it with our analysis of the large scale analysis that we've already analyzed for the patterns. And we'd be looking for how that data from the company patterned with that. So looking for different correlations, so we can say, okay, well, here's the issue. There's this underlying trend that you're not seeing because you aren't looking at this other piece of data. And that underlying trend is really what's driving this revenue function. And knowing that, then you can make decisions differently and say, okay, well, now we understand what's driving it. Okay, that gives us a powerful decision point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. Then there are two other, I'd say they're the more human element of this, which is super important, the really organic element. So going into a company and saying, okay, the people in your company are highly sensitive and correlated to this particular, large scale trend. Maybe it's, in this industry, maybe it's the, how Bitcoin is moving. Could be how the NASDAQ is moving. If you're in a company in the United States and you're in the technology sector, for another company, it may be how the price of lumber is moving. It depends. And and understanding, okay, so think about a group of executives, say an executive team's about to get together and about to make some strategic decisions. Whomever is leading that meeting can understand what's the underlying current that is driving the people sitting in that room, which could be high appetite for risk. It could be low appetite for risk. It could be everybody's driven by like a really exuberant mood and FOMO. It could be that people are uncertain. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's no direction. Difficult to make decisions when there's no direction. And so that leader can understand that underlying driver of the behavior and the decision making and make different choices about how to lead that meeting to drive decisions that are the best for the business, to drive the results. Again, I always will go back to emotions drive behavior and behavior drives results. And that's what we're talking about. Equally as important when you're talking about executing decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a really exciting time. But think about this. Say you're getting ready, a company's getting ready for a launch, a product in this industry. It could be a token launch. It could be any sort of endeavor that requires lead time and people external to the organization to behave in a certain way. So you're sitting here and you're saying, okay, well, we're going to launch in, say, 3 months. And then that launch we expect there to be like maybe like a 6-month period of time where we're really hitting it hard. Well, that means you're looking at an execution time of like 9 months. If all the decisions about how that execution is structured are based on the current mood, the current emotion, the current types of behaviors that we're seeing right now, that can be disastrous, because 9 months from now,
It'll be different.
people can be incentivized by completely different things. And if a business understands and can assign probabilities to how that shift may occur in the next 9 months, think about how much more powerful that campaign could be, and the pivots that you could work into that to say, okay, well, if this was to happen, this is a possible scenario. We can pivot very, very quickly, because we know what types of behaviors we can expect if we start to see, this patterning occur, and we can jump on that. We can be ahead of it. And that 9-month period becomes a lot less uncertain. It becomes a lot more strategic and sets up the business to have the results, again, that it desires.
Yeah.
Does that give you an idea?
That makes total sense. I know that I usually ask this more than once, and I forgot, so my apologies. How can people reach out to you? I want to make sure
Yeah.
it will be in the blog below, but how can people reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn all the time. Love LinkedIn. So reach out to me, connect with me, ask me questions. We have a page on LinkedIn for SentiTrend, and we post regularly. And this is all about our SentiTrend, but and how this specifically applies to businesses. So the issues businesses are facing right now. You can also email me. So Jackie, feel free to include my email. I am completely open to you emailing me directly. I love connecting with people, and especially other professionals. So, look, we're all people who are out there trying to serve clients, trying to, and maybe there's people that are in-house at a company, and you're in there and you're trying to really do a great job. And that's what's great about talking to groups like this of other professionals, is we all have a drive to really contribute. And so I welcome you to send me an email. Let's have a chat, think about some interesting issues, and see where it goes.
So if you were to share with individuals listening last minute takeaways or thoughts, what would you share that might help guide them, in addition to kind of reaching back out to you, but what would you share with them?
Sure. So let me just give you something to think about. Right now in the market, both in the crypto market and particularly in North America, in the United States, this is not the same in all areas of the world, but we're in a time where the markets are up. But what that really means is people are coming together and expressing a view of underlying optimism. It doesn't mean people are skipping along and seeing butterflies all day and are always happy, but there's this underlying drive of optimism. And what behavior that underlying drive drives is behavior that can be more risky. It's behavior that can be, in some cases, more predatory. And I say that word in the way, thinking about your organization. Think about how people interact with each other. A lot of times people become more individualized, a little bit more divided, because we're all trying to get out there. The FOMO is it's building and it's building and it's building. And when you look at the organization, start to look for little things, little micro decisions about standard operating procedures. Our cash reserve procedures being followed to a T? Are we rounding the corners off of, well, do we really want to, price is going up. Do we need to follow that hedging policy? Maybe we can let that go a little bit. People on teams sometimes can be a little bit more divided. We're not as concerned as caring for the collective in times like this. Also, if you're leading a team and there's somebody who has a dissenting and challenging viewpoint, who isn't as bullish, who isn't as, eager to take the risk, those dissenters can be really quieted during these times. And sometimes those dissenting opinions are important to keep an eye on, because cycles repeat, and at some point things will snap back. And having those operating procedures in place, sometimes maybe there's short-term benefit to rounding the corners off an operating procedure, but what can be really, really tough is a lot of times then it means it gets forgotten. And a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever it is, I'm not giving any market predictions here, but at some point, this underlying mood will shift and the markets will shift. And if those standard operating procedures that were put in place for a really good reason have been forgotten, those micro decisions can become really, really detrimental to the success of an organization. So just start looking at those micro decisions and getting, watch how people's decision making shifts and changes. And I'll be interested to hear from you if you start to see things with a different perspective in your organization.
Yeah, no, I think that awareness is critical, because sometimes it's sort of is like diet. Unless you actually track sometimes what it is you eat, you don't always realize either what you're eating or the exercise that you're doing or other parts of your lifestyle. So, but once you are aware, then it's a question of choice. And it's a question of, are you, like you said, are you following it, or are you making a decision not to follow it? And if you're not following it, then is there a purpose behind that? And is that purpose part of the higher good of the company, so to speak? So, again, there's always reasons behind. You just have to figure out, okay, where is it going to go for there? No, I look forward to hearing the stories of the successes that you have with those within, our community. And I know you're going to be connecting on a lot of the meetups and other panels that we're going to be hosting. So I definitely appreciate that. For everyone who's listening, definitely look at the blog below, so that way you can connect with Carrie. Her contact information will definitely be there. And then if you have any questions, for myself, definitely reach out through the Blockchain Legal Institute or the Maryland Blockchain Association, since we are, now fostering that in the community in which I live. So again, everyone, as I always say at the end of all my talk shows, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, because we're so interconnected. We're all part of one world, and now more than ever. So everyone, have a great day, and remember, like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye.